This week in F1, it was largely about 2023. On Friday morning, Williams confirmed that Nicholas Latifi will be leaving the team at the end of the season, news that probably won't come as a shock to many of you. Latifi joined the team for the 2020 season and during his 55 races picked up a total of just 7 championship points. The Canadian did show some progress in 2021, but this year's campaign has been a difficult and disappointing one, and he has been consistently well beaten by teammate Alex Albon, and last time out at Monza, as I'm sure you'll remember, he was also solidly beaten by stand-in Nick De Vries. Latifi thanked everyone at Williams for the 3 seasons they worked together and pointed to his first points at the 2021 Hungarian Grand Prix as a moment he will never forget, which is fair enough because that was his best F1 result to date and arguably his best overall performance. His focus now, though, is understandably on ending the year and his time in the sport in a positive manner. The Williams statement also says that the team will confirm its full lineup for next season in due course, but who will partner Alex Albon in 2023? Well, the truth is we just don't know at this point in time, but following his fantastic outing for the team at Monza, Nick De Vries is believed to be an option, and there are even reports claiming the team is willing to wait to see if Logan Sargeant can get that super license before making a decision. The American driver, of course, needing to finish 5th or higher in the F2 Championship come the end of the year. There is, interestingly enough, also some talk that the Alpine-Williams loan deal that was originally in place for Piastri could be revived, but with Jack Doohan the one making the move to Williams. That wasn't all the driver market news this week, though, as AlphaTauri announced that Yuki Tsunoda will be staying with the team for 2023 following what they described as, quote, his first successful 2 years in Formula One. And in fairness to him, following a shaky start to his F1 career last year, he has shown growth and improvement, something Franz Tost alludes to in the announcement, pointed to the pace he has shown lately as evidence of a steep learning curve, which proves he deserves a seat in the sport. And as I've mentioned previously, Tost also explains that he believes a driver needs at least 3 years to get to grips with Formula One, and so he's pleased Tsunoda has been given the time to show his full potential. On paper then, that seals the team's lineup as Pierre Gasly was confirmed to be staying for next year back in June. However, this is F1. It's never that simple. The Frenchman is still heavily linked with a move to Alpine, and rumours suggest that Nick De Vries is one of the drivers in line to take his seat alongside Tsunoda next year. The Dutchman even confirming he has held talks with Williams and met with Helmut Marko recently in Austria. On top of that, De Vries took part in Alpine's audition test at the Hungaroring earlier this week, along with others including Antonio Giovinazzi and Jack Doohan. But will he make it through to judges' houses, and can he beat the competition to make it to the live shows? Only time will tell. That's the wrong show. Anyway, it is also worth mentioning, it does feel like an X Factor audition, but anyway, it is also worth mentioning that Red Bull's goal of getting Colton Herta into that second AlphaTauri seat is over for now due to the difficulties in getting him a super license. Any special exemption from the FIA looking likely to fail. On Tuesday, F1 revealed next season's calendar, and it's currently set to be a record breaker. 2023 will, as it stands, consist of 24 races starting on March the 5th in Bahrain and ending in Abu Dhabi on November 26th. The calendar also confirms that the finale will be the second race of a doubleheader with Las Vegas, which makes complete and total sense given the plan Stefano Domenicali previously announced around trying to group races by region as F1 continues its push to become carbon neutral. And to be fair, they are pretty close geographically. That is, if you didn't catch it, sarcasm by the way. Another key point of Vegas is the race is expected to take place at 10 p.m. local time on a Saturday, 6 a.m. on Sunday in the UK, and that, by all accounts, is so it's a bit more of a sociable hour for European fans. I don't know who's socialising at 6 a.m., but anyway. And it kind of flies a little bit, doesn't it, in the face of trying to grow the US market, given it'll be lights out on the East Coast at 1 a.m. Yeah, I know the European market is a big one, of course it is, but I'm sure that we would cope with one, for example, 3 a.m. race start a year. But anyway, like I said earlier, it's never that straightforward in Formula One. Baku moves to an earlier slot in the season on April 30th and is back-to-back with Miami, another win. And Qatar makes its full-time return to the calendar on October 8th. Belgium moves to the end of July, becoming the second race in a doubleheader with Hungary. And as a result of that, the 24 hours of Spa that was originally scheduled for that same weekend has been moved to earlier in the month. The calendar also contains 2 triple headers, and they are Imola, Monaco and Spain, and then USA, Mexico and Brazil towards the end of the year. No word yet, though, on where sprint races will be held. The big question mark, though, is over the return of the Chinese Grand Prix. The race in Shanghai is scheduled as round 4 in April next year, but there is already a lot of talk that it may not go ahead due to the country's COVID restrictions, so that's something to keep an eye on in the coming months. It will also be interesting to see, should it get cancelled, if the sport looks to replace it, or chooses to leave a hole in the calendar as they did this year with the removal of the Russian Grand Prix, of course. What do you make of the new calendar though? Is 24 races too many, or would you like to see even more in the future? Maybe 52? Personally, I've always thought that 20 seemed like a good number, but you can let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. And finally, with that calendar announcement came the news that despite rumours it could fall off the schedule, the Monaco Grand Prix will be sticking around for a while, as the sport and organisers have agreed a 3-year contract extension, keeping it on the calendar until at least 2025. There were genuine concerns the event could be axed, as there were differences over hosting fees, sponsorships, TV production and infrastructure, but all of that appears now to have been ironed out. F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali said he was pleased to see the famous race remain on the calendar and for the partnership to continue. The details of the new deal have, unsurprisingly, not been made public, but according to Motorsport.com, F1 was pushing for the hosting fee to be brought in line with other venues, as it is understood that Monaco pays around half of what many other venues pay. F1 has also apparently been pondering the idea of changes being made to the track layout in a bid to help improve overtaking at a race that is, let's be generous, a little bit processional. However, it is thought unlikely those changes will be made and could be achieved in the short term. That is it for this week's This Week in F1, but I will be back on Thursday with the Singapore Grand Prix preview and next Sunday with the race reaction as always. And apologies for my stuffy, gravelly voice as well, by the way. I'm a bit full of cold at the moment, but I wanted to get this video out because there have actually been a handful of interesting stories this week. So yeah, on to Singapore next though. Looking forward to that one. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.